country made it very easy this week to pick topics.
Too easy. I feel like we had to narrow it down.
Normally, there's a lot of text messages that goes back and forth between Meghan and
we were
myself.
like, should we just cover this week?
Yeah. We're going to label this Trump as a badass.
Yes.
Lots of things happened. I mean, we'll start at the pivotal moment of the attempted assassination that really kind of, well, I mean, I guess it happened a little bit before then. It actually kind of started at the debate.
It did.
I told you there's fallout from the debate, then fallout from the fallout, then fallout from the, we're now on like the 14th fallout. Things are just kind of unraveling.
But it's nonstop. Every day there is something.
I mean, you knew this was going to be an election that would be won for the books, but it's turning into the election of the millennial here because it hasn't stopped. And all the way from the debate, now to an attempted assassination, to Biden dropping out, to Kamala Harris now being the president, to the liberal media fawning over her like she's the next Miss Universe.
Like they weren't against her for the past 4 years, but now all of a sudden she's the best thing to exist.
She's amazing.
And I have a bunch of clips showing the back and forth. But I think we knew for the election, it was always a question, right? Like, is Biden really, I mean, is he going to make
Most
it one
people knew it,
in
but
life?
we tried to, not me and you, not our 10 listeners, but we knew that it was crap, okay? But most people in the liberal media, once again, were part of this massive cover-up. And I believe the entire White House staff, anybody underneath his thumb, including his vice president, absolutely knew that this man was aging out, to put it lightly. I mean, he has no idea where he's going, what he's doing, what he's saying. I mean, his most recent, I mean, he goes missing for 6 days after he drops out. It's just, it's weird. It's freaking weird.
It's just the hypocrisy of it all, especially with the media, which we will be talking a lot about. Just how they want to sit there and talk about Trump or his campaign or basically anybody that is for Trump, how they lie. He's a liar. He's doing this and that. Meanwhile, for literally the past 4 years, we've had to listen to nothing but lies. We've seen, now it's like, to your point, all unraveling in front of our eyes, and they're still trying to sit there and bend the story to where they want us to believe, like, oh, this is new development. Biden, he was fit to be president. He's good. Kamala now is the best thing since sliced bread. She's going to do a great job. She's getting endorsed by everybody. She got millions of dollars in donations, and the Obamas had a special little phone call that we had to record. It's just like, it's sickening.
We're in the honeymoon phase.
It's sickening to watch.
The news is not the news anymore. It's just, it's all opinion people up there and fighting for one side or the other, bullshitting for one side or the other. And
everyone knows this. This is why people don't want to listen to the news. Anything that comes out of these people's mouths, you're just like,
Yet I found myself on the news apps all week. Once again, just let's back all the way up. Let's go to the attempted assassination. Let's start there.
Okay.
You have the very infamous picture of Trump's fist in the hand, also known as fist in the air. The Secret Service people around him, and the American flag in the background. This should be a statue.
I'm sorry, I don't care what side you're on. I don't care what side you're on. That doesn't matter. But if you didn't, after all of this and after seeing that picture, if you didn't come out of that thinking, wow, that is patriotic and that is someone being a badass, you're delusional.
That's the living embodiment of the American promise, the American dream, the American vision. Like, that's it.
You don't have to like Trump, and you still don't have to like Trump, and that's fine. But if you can't tell me that you didn't sit there and say, wow.
I mean, he was just shot at. He's got blood pouring down his face.
It was, I watched that clip so many times, and I think so many people did, because it really was incredible to see. Just him in general getting back up, wanting to let the American people know that he's okay and he's going to continue fighting after the man literally his life was almost taken. And you also can't tell me that was nothing but a miracle that he's alive.
And I think that as incredible as that one moment is, this.
If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all
start crying myself.
Same. He looks like a changed man.
Well,
I mean, how can you not be, but...
Thank my lucky stars to be living here today. We are here tonight in one purpose, and that is to elect Donald J. Trump as the next president of the United States. He's here tonight to show
Like, you just can't sit there and not feel something after watching that. You know what I mean? You just can't. And if you don't, then you are dead inside.
I relate to this man for a very specific reason. There's something in Donald Trump that reminds me about my father, and it's not just that my father's name was Don. There is something about the way he carries himself very much that reminds me of my dad, and my dad has passed. So to have this man be shot at and literally come within millimeters of his life, and then for him to walk out. So once again, you can hate me all you want for liking Donald Trump. There's a connection I have to my father. We went and saw him live, but he does remind me of my dad in some of his dispositions. So like I said, I don't care if you hate me anymore for admitting this. Your hate is your problem. It's not mine.
Yeah, you got problems.
I teared up when he walked out to that song.
Yeah, with Lee Greenwood like singing on stage, and
he's getting emotional. And you know, many people have known him for many years. I don't know him personally. I've never met him, but they've stated they've never seen this man get emotional once when dealing with any type of, you know, political issues or personal issue. And that was, I think, a very powerful moment that came out after this assassination. And it really, for the first time in a long time, I think it connected the GOP. The Republican Party was finally unified underneath Donald Trump.
It really just made you, as an American, again, doesn't matter what side you're on, but it made you feel like I am proud to live in this country, and this man is literally doing anything and everything to get this country back to a better place.
But which is what we are here doing. We are proud to live in this country. We are proud to be Americans. And we're so busy trying to divide ourselves with gender and race, and we want to check these boxes and back ourselves into corners and keep making all these labels that divide us, when in reality the one thing that unifies us is that we're American. You can't go into any other country, be a different nationality, but still be unified underneath one umbrella. You can't go to Italy and be Italian. You can't go to, you know, Poland and be Polish, but you can come to America and be American.
And there's many doing that.
And you can be free. And we What do you mean, Meghan? Are you talking about the border?
We did it, Joe. Yeah, I agree. I think, again, if you're looking at the options that we have right now and the state of the country right now, it's a mess. I know there's the Trump delusion syndrome is very real, and I know there's people who, in their mind, just can't get behind this man. But then it's like, let's take a step out and look at the bigger picture here. You're willing to vote for Kamala or whoever they put in there?
Side note, is it Kamala or Kamala?
I say Kamala. I've heard both.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
She's still
Cackling Cam.
I mean, I'm sure to the
Cackling Cam, we'll call her.
Political identity police, it does.
I just feel like if you use your brain and you want something better for the country that we're living in, whether you like this person personally or you don't like that he sends out mean tweets or whatever, let's think about this here. What are you willing to give up for the next 4 years, maybe longer?
So, you know, Mr. President Trump and Mr. President Biden, I once again, we have gotten and made everything so personal in this country, and so like, what about me and me, and we have forgotten that we are looking at policies, and you know, we can get into the massive colossal failure of the Secret Service that is also unraveling before our eyes, how a 20-year-old assassin makes it onto a roof, and we can go through those details in a little bit. We can look at that, and we can look at the rhetoric coming out of one side. We can also look at the rhetoric coming out of another side. But we have forgotten what this is about, and this is about our lives and policies. This is not about personalities and the way we're attacking people. It has to stop.
I agree.
A man died.
A man
Family was murdered.
Protecting his
Two people
family.
were shot. The former president was in millimeters of his head being blown off.
And you know what's disgusting about that is that someone did lose their life, and other people were injured, and you still got people on the other side saying it was a setup or
a hoax.
Didn't really happen,
or it was a piece of glass.
Yep, and it's like you're filth. You are filth.
Well, they want to live in a little bubble called hate. So I think we all need to just like step outside of this like me bullshit and like how many likes and clicks we can get on this social media crap that we live in. And we need to just figure out like policies here. Like, can you literally sit there and say your life is easier right now than it was before COVID when Trump was in office? I don't know about you, but I was making a lot of money. I was doing just fine. I could afford most things in this world without having to worry about how to pay it back. I mean, I didn't pull up to the gas station and get pissed every single time.
Right.
I mean, you go to
the grocery store.
You go to gas stations now, they cap you at $75. Why do they do that? Why does Burn and Dairy do that? It's really annoying. How dare you tell me how much gas I can buy? Burn and Dairy and Quick Fill, you can only put $75 into your car. And
it stops you at 75.
Yeah, and I can't stand when I don't get that last little bloop of full. I can't stand it.
I didn't know that.
Can you honestly sit here and say that things are easier right now? Because I don't feel it. I really don't. We got wars going on all over the world. Costs are out of this world. We're more divided than we ever have been. We have the media acting like absolute lunatics. He's in, he's out. Kamala. I mean, like it's. You can't even keep up with.
Yeah,
this,
wait till we watch the clips. Wait till we watch the clips of the
they're
media. It's mind-boggling.
I want to see. I feel like there's a certain like number of media people that get like the memo of all the things they need to talk to and everything they need to hit and all the
talking
fluff
points
and the crap they have to go through.
Totally.
I mean, here's what I've always liked about President Trump, and maybe this is just why he reminds me of my father. He really doesn't give you a lot of bullshit. He just tells you what he's feeling exactly in that moment. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people can't handle that. They want that fluff. They want that bullshitty type of, let's pretend everything okay or...
Yeah, or we'll just keep telling you we're doing something about it even though we're not. But we're just going to keep saying that we are.
I mean, the Democratic Party is in this like massive undertaking of the biggest case of projection I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Everything they blame the other side for, they literally do.
1,000%.
I mean, they should just stop calling themselves the Democratic Party and just change their names to the Gaslighting Party. Every single day, they're gaslighting on something.
Mm-hmm. But how sad is it that for so many Americans, they love to be gaslighted? I mean,
it's the delusion.
Think about how bad Joe Biden has been physically for 3 years.
Yes, we've all seen it.
And we have always been told it's a right-wing conspiracy. You're seeing a little bit of clips. It's not true.
So was the laptop.
So what happened? But what happens at the end here? So up until the debate, he was doing fine. He's fine. Then the debate happens.
He's fine.
And all of a sudden, all of
it's
America,
like Wicked at Bernie's.
He's exposed. It's like the press acted like he suddenly got afflicted.
I'm telling you,
at 9 o'clock at night.
I love how they were like pissed too about it. Like they didn't know.
These anchors after the debate, I stayed on it too. I stayed on CNN because I'm like, I need to literally see what these people are going to sit here and say.
Now,
you should have all seen. He has a cold. He's been traveling and he has a cold. They talked about having a cold for so long. I'm like, are we For real?
And here's what happens though. This is why our press, our traitors, mainstream, and I'll say it a million times, traitors to this country. Because if his poll numbers didn't tank, I guarantee you this, he could have had that debate. And if his polls came back within a week or 2 weeks that he was still ahead, guess what? He'd still be in this race. So they don't give a crap about that he couldn't do the job. All they cared about, could he win? And when the polls came back and he could not win, then you find the media turn on him. You find all the celebrities turn on him.
But
and the
everybody,
money stops
wait a
up.
minute, everybody turned on him before that. I believe this was in the making a little bit longer because why have a debate so early?
Well, I think they had a plan A, plan B. And I think plan A was how is he going to pull out? How is he going to go in the polls?
Let's do the debate. Let's see how it goes. And then we're going to have to,
and then we get to plan B.
Not even the 11th hour,
the thing that cracks me up is like, your plan B was Kamala? That's what you guys settled on?
I don't think that was their plan B. I think their plan C was Kamala. The problem is you can't get rid of Kamala and make it look okay to your liberal base who would go crazy if you skipped over the DEI hire. I'm sure we'll get many.
Did you fall out of a coconut tree?
Is that what she said?
We exist in the context.
I'm
sorry, what?
I have great.
What in the Dr. Seuss? Like, what's going on?
The coconut tree. She said that?
Oh, I got greatest hit clip.
I actually didn't spend that much time because I knew you would cover it.
It makes you feel gross when you watch it. It makes you feel gross. Like they think we're so stupid as human beings that they think they can just throw all this out in the media. Everyone's got their talking points across all medias, and if they say it enough, we'll believe it. If they say it enough, the American people will turn. No.
Well, the Democrats, they have a problem right now, and they're trying to clean up big time. And like I said, not the 11th hour because that's over with, but they're in the 12th. They have 106 days to make this happen. Start a campaign, get campaign ads.
Oh, well, she's getting millions of...
I'm just saying, what they have to do in 106 days is a lot. And I'm sure they're going to throw everything at the wall.
But don't worry. One of her first appearances after being, nominated or, as the nominee, she's going on RuPaul's Drag Race. Great. So don't worry.
Well, that's where they have to go because that's...
that's who you have to get.
That's the only thing they have to talk about is attack Trump personally and... go get the celebrity, idiots that want to tell us how to live our lives as they sit in, the Hamptons. So, but the bigger problem we have right now, I believe, is that we have a Secret Service department that I don't think can protect anybody.
No kidding.
They are literally going to let this happen again.
Speaking of DEI hires.
Wait a minute. The new guy the guy underneath Cheadle that was pretty much making the decisions to not give him the protection that he needed is now the new department chief. And he basically says, well, don't do any more outdoor rallies because we can't guarantee your safety. You have to. So you either lose your campaign ability or die. So that's the bigger problem is we have a Secret Service department that absolutely needs to be rethought of at this point. Like, I don't think it needs to be demolished in any way, shape, or form because they serve a purpose. However, the people that are running this department need to be ousted, replaced, and they need to start thinking about how they are going to protect our political leaders. That's not just about Mr. Trump. That is about Biden, his wife, Kamala, Pete
anyone
Buttigieg.
in these. Yeah.
Everybody needs to be protected, and I don't think that they can. A 20-year-old. A 20-year-old,
but then, we can't find any information on this 20-year-old. We can't find any social media information
so if you
magically, and there's no details that we can get.
If you listen to Dan Bongino, he is a former Secret Service agent, and I've been listening to him a lot lately because
great.
He has all these insides on what's actually happened. So, Cheadle comes out and testifies before Congress, and bipartisan support for how frustrated they got with her. That was, I listened to that. That's the first thing I've ever listened to from front to back. I mean, when I say you'd rather slam your face against the wall than listen to this woman just dodge the... I mean,
didn't answer straightforward. It didn't answer one question.
And the problem is she had the answers, but for some reason she chose not to be for some reason. I think we all know why. They have the timeline. They don't want you to know the timeline. The guy was spotted 52 minutes before he even went on stage. And there's questions like, why was he even allowed on stage? Why did they make the decision to move the guys from the roof to inside the building?
Why did this kid use drones to map out the area, but our own Secret Service, who I think for their policies should be using drone to map out everything? We didn't.
The advanced team was supposed to be there 8 hours before and doing surveillance for 7 days prior. They should have seen this person.
So this just came out. I saw it yesterday.
Is it about that it's not a bullet and it was just a piece of glass?
Oh, from Newsweek? No. This was a whistleblower tells Senator Josh Hawley that local law enforcement suppliers offered the USSS drones in Butler, PA before the rally, but the offer was declined.
I'm telling you right now, I think they let it happen.
No kidding.
I think they just were like, maybe we'll pretend. I think that they let it happened.
The location of that building to where Trump was speaking, there is no way that would be left unmanned. There's no way in any other scenario.
Or put something to block the sight line, because that's what you're supposed to do. Dan Bongino had a story about this where it was Hillary Clinton going to speak at a college, and if you can't man the buildings or you can't man the sight lines, what you do is you find a way to block the sight lines. He said, so he literally went out and bought that Christmas fake snow stuff, and he sprayed all the windows in the building that they couldn't man so that nobody had a clear line of sight to Hillary Clinton when she was speaking.
There was a clear line of sight to Trump's head.
I think they just let this happen.
And the building was too sloped. Meanwhile, you got 500 people that have now gone to the building walking on the roof.
If a 20-year-old can make it onto a building, Secret Service, that
not
was
to
crap.
mention you have just viewers that are coming to the rally that noticed somebody was on the roof before it started and was notifying police officers about it.
So I have Representative Boebert's questioning here. You gonna open a file up?
This is just what I was just saying, people standing around.
People knew this was happening.
Look at them.
Look, they're all pointing.
The Atlantic, maybe the Pacific.
Yeah, someone's on top of the roof.
I
Look,
don't.
there he is right there. Right there, see
Nothing
him?
makes sense here.
He's laying
Why
down.
was
See
he
him?
on
Yeah,
that
he's
stage
laying
needs
down.
to be answered, and it's probably once again we're gonna trust the FBI with this investigation because they've done so well over the past 4 years.
Yeah, they're definitely trustworthy
8 years.
for sure.
So here's Lauren Boebert. She asked some pretty pointed questions.
Have you communicated with anyone at the White House on an encrypted messaging app like Signal? Yes or no?
No, I have not.
Are you willing to surrender your personal phone for analysis?
If I am required to do so.
Okay. I will look into making that request because I would like to see your personal phone to see if you're communicating over encrypted messaging apps. Have you ever turned down enhanced security requests from Donald Trump's detail, his special agent in charge, Sean Curran? Have you ever turned that down?
No, I have not.
Have there been, has your team, has the Secret Service? Maybe not you personally.
I believe, as I mentioned earlier, there are times when requests are made for
And you have denied them. They have been denied.
And a denial doesn't
Has the Trump
necessarily
campaign
mean,
made requests for additional assets that have been denied?
Denial doesn't mean vulnerability.
Oh my God.
So first, let's go back to the beginning where she asked about this encrypted Signal app that she's communicating with the White House, indicating that there is some back deep state stuff happening here.
course.
Basically, she can't use her government email address to communicate. She's using something else to communicate with folks up in the White House.
I'm sure she got those instructions from Hillary.
So I thought that was an important question that she asked her, and more importantly was Director Cheadle's very, very long pause, thinking.
I mean, yeah, that alone
I'll say
says
no.
it all.
So I believe she kind of perjured, not kind of, it's kind of perjures, like kind of being pregnant. You either are or you're not. She perjured herself there a little bit. And then the second question, which is, were security assets denied? Director Cheeto was very, very intentional about saying I never denied them. And you saw Lauren Boebert laugh a little bit, about, well, okay, has anybody on your team, which is Mr. Robert Lowe, which is right below her. He probably denied them. So there were plenty of additional resources requested that were denied repeatedly because the Secret Service is not using the department for protection. They're using the department right now for political purposes.
Totally.
And that's not what security is.
No, how can you trust any of that? How can you trust that you're going to be in safe hands when you got this garbage going on? Who told her to go back to guarding Cheetos? Because that was probably the best statement out of that whole thing.
I believe so. The women really took this.
They did, but it was
this hearing to the next level. This is another really great moment.
As being transparent, yes or no?
I have always been
Yes
eager to
or no?
come
You didn't
and
want to
talk
answer
to
the question.
committee.
We had to issue a subpoena to get you to show up today. That is not transparent, by the way. You stated earlier, Secret Service is not political. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Would you say leaking your opening statement to Punchbowl News, Politico's Playbook, and Washington Post several hours before you sent it to this committee as being political? Yes or no?
I have no idea how my statement got out.
Well, that's bull. Have you provided all audio and video recordings in your possession to this committee, as we asked on July 15th? Yes or no?
I would have to get back to you.
That is a no. You're full of today. You're just being completely dishonest. Mr.
Chairman,
Mr.
Chairman, I want to.
Come on.
We have to maintain decorum in this committee, no matter how
have you provided
upset we
any
get.
and all?
I appreciate the opportunity to appear before you.
So that would be me if I was on Capitol. I would just be swearing all day long because I find
Good for her.
I find these people infuriating.
Someone's got to say it. You know what I mean?
And then the next little doodad I found as a good line of questioning was this individual. And this was bipartisan. This wasn't just, Republicans.
No,
this was Republican and Democrats were like, what is going on? Are you literally going to sit here and not answer one question? So it was just a absolute annihilation of this woman.
ISIS terrorists and Al-Qaeda terrorists and international groups and terrorists more capable than a 20-year-old in pulling off either a mass shooting or an assassination of Donald Trump?
Sir, again, there was clearly a breakdown.
Right.
And a failure that day.
Have you read the intelligence of the terrorists that are currently in the United States that Director Wray speaks, and those individuals that are here that are affiliated with terrorist groups and organizations that are in the process, as Director Wray said, of representing a significant threat of a terrorist attack occurring in the United States?
I have read reports that apply specifically to the Secret Service's mission.
Director Cheeto, because Donald Trump is alive, and thank God he is, you look incompetent. If Donald Trump had been killed, you would have looked culpable. There is no aspect of this that indicates that there has been any protection to Donald Trump. The threat was identified before he took the stage, and the shooter was only killed after Donald Trump himself was killed. Not only should you resign, if you refuse to do so, President Biden needs to fire you because his life, Donald Trump's life, and all the other people which you protect are at risk because you have no concept of the aspect that the security footprint needs to be correlated to the threat.
Now, did you hear what he said? Only after Donald Trump was to be killed did you then kill the sniper. That's the only time the threat was mitigated.
8 shots.
Was after.
8, yeah, you hear him.
8 shots in.
But he made a good point. I have to agree. Only after Donald Trump would be dead, that's when you guys decided to mitigate the threat.
100%. That's why you can't sit here and tell me that something wasn't funny, business wasn't going on. You cannot tell me that.
This isn't about Donald J. Trump. This is about protection of all of our political leaders. Because the fact that a 20-year-old made it that far is going to open up the door for the lunatics that are that live in this country that think that they're going to make some political statement by doing an assassination. I don't for her to sit there and do that. then they brought. Oh, hang on, I got one more. And this is, I thought, was one of the most clever, because this really kind of, I hope this was the nail in the coffin for her actually resigning eventually. So after she got beat up all day on Capitol Hill, she finally resigned. But this, to me, kind of hit the nail on the head.
And the calls of all of our members to say thank you for doing this hearing on a bipartisan basis. Director, I'm not going to sit here and say you ought to resign, but I am going to say that you have not given us confidence that you have the ability to understand what happened, to take the responsibility in terms of understanding. You've spent a number of years. How many years do you say you've been with the agency?
29.
Well, I spent 16 years with AT&T, moved 7 times with them, and had a really good feel about their operations, how they worked, what was acceptable, who was responsible. And I've heard you say today numbers of times, well, you've got to wait. Well, you've got to wait. Wait for the final report. When is the final going to happen? I mean, how long do we have to wait before you can give us credible answers? You've been there 28 years. You've had a few days to be able to draw your own analysis of this. You should understand the entire process. You talked about being on the team, perhaps in Georgia. You have talked about your experience in this. You've talked about the professional nature of the agency. That I don't doubt. But the director, just like it was when I ran my operations at AT&T, was responsible for making sure they worked. And in business, it either works or it doesn't work. There's no in between. It either works or it does not work. And your job as the, in essence, administrator, the director, is to make sure it looks right and works. And I've not heard you say one thing about my analysis is, I have asked these questions. It's always, I've got to sit back and wait for someone else to decide that. So I'm going to ask you a question that maybe you can answer. Have any employees been disciplined for their role in Butler, PA incident?
No, sir, not at this time. I am asking those questions.
So no employee has been disciplined, and no employee has been placed in any position that would place their job in jeopardy, nor their standing in the agency.
We are still in the process of
That's
interviewing
not what
people.
I asked. You're the person that runs the place. You're the person that knows right from wrong, good from bad. You've had a number of days, and now you come before this committee knowing you're going to be before us, and you've got to slough it off to someone else. Do you see where there was something that went wrong as a professional at an agency with 28 years, or do you have to count on someone else to give you the final report?
I see that something went wrong, and I've acknowledged that something went wrong.
Then what went wrong?
I
Was
need
the
to-
special agent in charge not doing their job? Was the shooter given extra time? Was the sniper doing their job? I mean, these are things that people who've been around for 28 years can analyze quickly. I watched it live on TV, and then within minutes saw a number of facts and factors that would have and should have been known by people who were there. You've got 28 years. You're showing up here telling us and the American public, well, I've got to wait for the final answer. What is your evaluation?
I'm asking those same questions.
Well, no, you're before the
And I
committee. Tell us what went wrong. A special agent in charge, the person who was there. Tell us, and don't try and play a shell game with us. Do you have the ability to effectively, as the director of this agency, to understand what went wrong and at least tell us, I do or don't know what I'm doing? And we come away with, and I'm not asking for you to resign. I'm asking for you, if you've got this experience, then you should be able to say to us, we know what we did wrong. It was a failure in our system, and we're immediately making these corrections. That's why you're having a difficult time with this group of members of Congress, because we saw it too. We've seen the things, but you are the 28-year expert. You are the person that, and only you, that can make the changes. And I hear you say, well, I've got to wait for a final report before I, at 28 years experience. That is why we think what you're doing, the answers you're giving us are not correct, and you are not using your professional expertise. Mr. Chairman, I will allow her to respond.
I am asking those same questions, sir, and I assure you, when I have a full and complete report of exactly what happened, there will be accountability, and we will make changes.
Before I recognize the question, just out of curiosity, Director, it's been 9 days. Every American.
This is the director of the Secret Service.
She literally showed up and was like, I'll get to it when I feel like it.
This is the director of our Secret Service. How? How does this make anybody feel good?
You know, I had another clip. That wasn't it. Kamala.
Unbelievable.
Kamala.
Oh, I got stuff.
Kamala. Oh, there she is. Kamala.
Cackling Cam.
Of someone basically stating to her. So we just watched that the show, but he has a point. Like, you're the one with the expertise. Tell us what happened.
You don't need this much time. It shouldn't take this much time.
Well, do you have the clip of AOC?
Well, no, I don't have the clip of it, but I did hear she was the one that brought up the 60 days and how unappropriate.
I'm no fan of hers, but I'm going to tell you what.
She had a good point.
When you lose AOC,
then you know.
So the other clip I had, oh God, I don't know who it was.
So she resigned, right? But as any other company, you want to hire this lady?
Well, I think she didn't give any answers because she was told not to. And whoever this entity was, which I mean, guess I at least one obvious in my brain. They sunk her. They sunk her to save themselves. So I hope she understands that.
And I sincerely appreciate the clarity on this.
Can we turn up the volume, staff?
I just want to ask you, because this has popped up. Republican Congressman Mike Walz, he said on social media on Saturday, and I'm going to read this for you because it does talk about you, Secretary. I have very reliable sources telling me that there have been repeated requests for stronger Secret Service protection for President Trump denied by Secretary Mayorkas. Your department has already pushed back on that, calling that absolutely false, but he is putting this on you. Can you respond to that, please?
Well, that's a baseless and irresponsible statement, and is one that is unequivocally false.
Director Cheadle, did you speak with your boss, Secretary Mayorkas? You fall under DHS. Did you speak with him on the 14th, the day after?
Yes, I did.
So you spoke with him before he made that statement?
I spoke with him immediately following the incident.
Did you inform him that all requests for additional resources for President Trump had been fulfilled? Or that it was false to say they had been denied?
I informed him that the request for that rally that day had been fulfilled.
Okay, you continue to answer that very carefully, because I made a broader statement. The agents that came to me made a broader statement that his permanent protective detail for years now have been asking for more. Is that correct?
I do not have specific incidents of those requests.
Is it correct that they've been asking for more?
I have heard the same reports that you have. Without having them in front of me, I am unable.
Those requests are made in writing. I mean, the agents are telling me they make them in writing. This isn't a verbal agency. Things are made in writing.
I understand what you're saying. I don't have those requests in front of me here.
I'm not asking if you have them in front of you. Are you aware that they were made?
As I said earlier, there are times when requests are made, and depending on the availability of assets, or if there is a way that
So there were times when they were denied?
If there is a way that vulnerability can be mitigated in a different way, then that is why...
So there are times when they were denied, for a variety of reasons?
That is why the Secret Service has a multi-layered and multifaceted security plan so that we can pivot if we need to.
In the wake, in the immediate 48 hours of an assassination attempt on a former president, could be the next leader of the free world, almost had his head blown off, your boss says that's irresponsible and false to say things are denied. And you had talked to him. So did he just make that up on his own, or did you tell him that?
We were speaking about the requests made at the rally.
Staff, can we show the next slide, please? Then we have your spokesman. Did you sign off on this statement? That there's an assertion that a member of the former president's team requested additional security resources and those were rebuffed? This is absolutely false. In fact, we added protective resources and technology and capability as part of the increased campaign travel tempo. But next slide, please. Next slide, please, staff. We have the Washington Post article that then says we now have senior Secret Service officials saying there were at times when it was denied. So which is it?
Again, there have been a number of conversations going on here.
Did you sign off on that spokesman's statement?
The spokesman's statement, I believe, was related to requests that were made.
Did you sign off on it?
For the requests that were made at the rally.
Did you sign off on the statement before it went out? I sign off on my press spokesman's statement before they go out. I would hope you would in the wake of an assassination attempt.
Yes.
You did? Mm-hmm. Categorically false that any requests were made. You signed off on it. Thank you for that. Thank you for that clarity. Madam Director, how many press conferences have you held since the assassination attempt?
We have put out press releases.
How many press conferences have you held? Gone to the mic, taken questions from the public, from the media? How many?
I have not held any.
How many has Secretary Mayorkas held?
I don't
0. How many has the FBI held? 0. How many has the Department of Justice held? I know you know the answer.
I believe there was a press conference in Butler after the incident occurred.
By local law enforcement, not by you and not by the Department of Homeland Security. So this is how misinformation flies. In the darkness, in the absence of information. Now we have 9 days later before a congressional committee, we all represent almost 1 million people, and you still don't have answers. Are you aware that national news anchors are saying this was a hoax? On national television, they're saying, no, the president wasn't shot, it was flying glass. Are you aware of that?
I have not heard those reports.
Are you aware that, there are rumors rampant online that there were multiple shooters?
Yes.
Are you aware that because the shooter had overseas encrypted platforms in Belgium and New Zealand and in Germany, that a lot of people are speculating there could have been foreign involvement, logically? Are you aware of that?
Yes.
And have you done anything to disabuse any of these notions today? No. You haven't. Madam Director, I would fire you, regardless of the failure, I would fire you just how you've handled it since. You should have been the first to the mics to say, America, world, I want to assure you we're going to get to the bottom of this. I want to assure you full transparency. Our agency clearly had major gaps here, and I want to personally take responsibility and accountability. You should have been the first, standing alongside Secretary Mayorkas, and I would even go so far as to say have daily press conferences, updating everyone on what we know. But you haven't had any of that. What are you hiding behind?
I am not hiding.
Because you're making the situation worse. I think you've heard that on a bipartisan basis here. You are making this situation far worse in the absence of information. Let's move on.
Oh, I love when people come in like that.
You literally want to slam your face against the wall.
I feel like
her.
she's just like, there's nothing there. She's like just dead behind the eyes.
She was fired after this hearing.
As she should be. She should have been fired before this hearing even happened.
I thought she resigned.
She was fired.
You're fired. So I believe that was one of the best points. You should be fired, not over the assassination.
Yes,
you should be
right.
fired for it.
He's 100% right.
But how you've handled it since then, you're making it worse.
If this was against
these people,
Biden Do you think it'd be handled anything like it was handled with
But
Trump?
this is how so for some reason I've gotten very involved in watching hearings all day long. But this is how these hearings go, is nobody thinks they owe anybody answers on this side of the aisle.
Because they think they can get away with it.
Because of
they are getting away with it.
Media. Yes. They
because
think,
they are getting away with it.
They have gotten away with it for years. So they think at this point, if we don't say anything, if we're just not straightforward, if we just kind of dodge the question, the people backing me up, the people that in secret are going to get me out of this mess. And it's not going to happen.
It's scary.
It's very scary.
When you're just a normal Joe Schmo like me and you and Gracie, like it's scary.
Trying to live. We're just trying
all
to live.
the things we don't know that are actually going on, because you have to admit the series of events this year have been very peculiar. Oh, Biden had a bad debate. Oh, now Trump's getting shot. Oh, now Biden's
has
dropping
COVID and he's unwell. Oh. That's what it was.
What a coincidence! All
That's
this
what
is
it was.
happening within weeks. It's so
he must
weird.
He must have had long COVID because Jesus.
Do you hear something crazy about that COVID story? So he did a I don't know, like he spoke to 10 people in Nevada or Las Vegas, and as soon as that was over with, they literally ran to his motorcade, got him out of the venue very quickly. They alerted the local hospital.
Yes, I heard that.
That they might be coming. Then they got him to Air Force One, and they said the way Air Force One took off was so fast, it was incredible. And then they made it to wherever they were going
some hospital,
within
wasn't it?
3 hours. And then all of a sudden, Biden just disappears for like 6 days.
Yeah, people thought he was dead.
And there were no pictures of him. And then all of a sudden, he had COVID. I thought he just had a cold. So now he had a cold. Now he has COVID.
Turned into COVID. Turned into
something happened to President Biden after that Nevada. I don't know.
Yeah, something happened to Biden.
We were just talking about Celine Dion and the awful condition she has.
Stiff person syndrome.
I feel like Biden has it too. I don't know.
But Biden's got all sorts of things, but that's a shock to everybody all of a sudden.
I just had that one vision of him with all the world leaders, him just walking away and staring at nobody.
Like this.
And the woman in pink is like,
Sir, hello. Hello.
Joe, get it together. They're watching.
You got 2 more minutes. Just freaking stand on stage.
So then I found this, like,
What's that?
Biden headquarters. That's his Twitter account, or excuse me, his X account. This account doesn't exist.
Oh, my God. It's just, it's like you wake up and you're like, what's it going to be today? What's going to happen today?
Very bizarre series of events that is very weirdly unfolding, and it's very coinkydink how it's just how we're trying to pivot the news cycle, and now we're in this honeymoon phase with Kamala, who couldn't even get 1% of the primary vote. And by the way, can we just mention that everybody wants to come out and say how Trump's a threat to democracy when literally the Democratic Party has uprooted democracy by getting rid of Biden's 14 million voters and just being like, we're going to pick the candidate now?
Yes. Yep.
But we're the
You have no choice.
Democracy?
This is who we're putting in. Yep.
The big wigs picked the Democratic nominee.
They picked the most qualified person, clearly.
Not the voters. The voters did not pick her. Less than 1% wanted this woman because she's got the worst record in the world.
She has the worst record.
They are very quickly trying to.
We're just going to be reminded of why. Let me just pull some things up here. Okay, so this is Hannity posted this, and it's Kamala's Greatest Hits, Volume 1.
Yes. It's going to be good.
I got to restart it. Hold on. It's just...
Get ready for that. There you go.
We've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe.
Listen, I've been to the border before. I will go again. But when I'm in Guatemala, dealing with root causes, I think we should have a conversation about what's going on in Guatemala.
So, can you commit right now that you will indeed visit the U.S.-Mexico border, and will you do it soon?
Jeremy, let me tell you something. Yes, I will, and I have before.
I've said I'm going to go to the border. And when are you going to the border, Vice President?
The administration has asked... I'm not finished. I've said I'm going to the border. I think it is important to look at folks like Haley and Kelly and also say we're going to take note of the fact that during the pandemic, over 2 million people, 2 million women people became unemployed. Because in some people's mind, that means, well, you're going to have to Xerox or photocopy your ID to send it in to prove you are who you are. Well, there are a whole lot of people, especially people who live in rural communities, who don't, there's no Kinko's, there's no Office Max near them. People have to understand that when we're talking about voter ID laws, be clear about who you have in mind and what would be required of them to prove who they are. More parents are seeing the value of educators when they had to bring their kids and saying, we're not paying them nearly enough. Hey, Cleveland! It's Kamala!
Given that America is built on racism, sexism, and other evils, how will you, as vice president, advocate, whether through policy or just through the powers that you know that you can advocate on? How will we resolve these injustices for the black community and specifically for black women?
Yes, thank you. And thank you for your role of leadership. And we all want them to go back to school. Yes, we do. Yes. Right? They're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. And this is a movement, I'm telling you. They're not going to stop. And everyone beware, because they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And everyone should take note of that on both levels, that they're not going to let up, and they should not. And we should not. We all grew up reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. But now, we must give real meaning to its words. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Justice. Let's talk about that. Because the reality is that the life of a black person in America has never been treated as fully human. And we have yet to fulfill that promise of equal justice under law. This election in November is going to be about literally our health and whether we live or die. Thank you, guys. And my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
She, her, and her. Mine too.
So I decided I was going to start prosecuting parents for truancy. What else do we know about this population, 18 through 24? They are stupid. They make really bad decisions.
Do you believe that Americans should have the right to vote at age 16?
I'm really interested in having that conversation.
Convicted, in prison, like the Boston Marathon bomber, on death row, people who are convicted of sexual assault, they should be able to vote?
I think we should have that conversation.
She thinks we should do away with the Electoral College. Do you agree with that?
I think that I'm open to the discussion. Remember Venn diagrams, those 3 circles? Right. And then let's just see where they overlap. You will not be surprised because I have constructed a Venn diagram on this. Remember those 3 circles, how they overlap? I love Venn diagrams. So I just do. Whenever you're dealing with conflict, pull out a Venn diagram, right? And so, the 3 circles. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.
Raise your hand if you think it should be a civil offense rather than a crime to cross a border without documentation. Can we keep the hands up so we can see them?
Do you ban plastic straws?
I think we should. Yes. I mean, look, I'm going to be honest. It's really difficult to drink out of a paper straw when if you don't gulp it down immediately, it starts to bend. Yes. And then, the little thing catches it. And then, so we got to kind of perfect that one a little bit more.
So you'd ban it, but rely on innovation. I
mean, we got it. Yeah, innovation is a process, right? You don't just do it. Innovation is a process, but let's encourage innovation. And I think we could do a little bit better than some of those flimsy plastic straws, but we do need to ban the plastic. Well, I think culture is a reflection of our moment in our time, right? And present culture is the way we express how we're feeling about the moment. And we should always find times to express how we feel about the moment that is a reflection of joy, because, It comes in the morning. We have to find ways to also express the way we feel about the moment in terms of just having language and a connection to how people are experiencing life. And I think about it in that way, too. There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. We all watched the television coverage of just yesterday. That's on top of everything else that we know and don't know yet, based on what we've just been able to see. And because we've seen it or not doesn't mean it hasn't happened. But just limited to what we have seen. That is especially true when it comes to the climate crisis, which is why we will work together and continue to work together to address these issues, to tackle these challenges, and to work together as we continue to work operating from the new norms, rules, and agreements that we will convene to work together on to galvanize global action. With that, I thank you all. This is a matter of urgent priority for all of us, and I know we will work on this together. It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. Every day it is time for us to agree that there are things and tools that are available to us to slow this thing down. And so right now we know we still have a number of people that is in the million.
Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically that's wrong.
Basically.
I can't. It keeps going, too. Like, you get the point.
Comes in the morning.
And if you don't feel like...
Well, listen,
this woman.
Maybe they'll level up her speechwriter. I don't
think that would even do anything.
The problem is she has the same problem as Biden, which is she can't ad lib. She can't literally in the moment just have a moment. She has.
It's not even about. Yes, she can't speak for
it's
garbage.
It's got to be teleprompted, or else it's downhill.
But you're telling me that there are people in this country that are going to vote for this woman to be in charge of our lives, to be in charge of the country, to keep the country safe, to negotiate with people like Putin and Kim Jong-un and however you say his name.
I mean, this is an AG.
Are we kidding?
Well, this is an AG and a senator from California, who threw a lot of people in jail for a lot of silly things, who started her career off by sleeping with an old man.
Everyone.
I mean,
Oh, I did.
Nobody liked her in the primary, but now it's all they got. Is this what's going on? So we'll see how influential this damn media can be, because they're gonna.
Oh, we're gonna see.
They're gonna try this very hard.
I want to make another prediction. I've been right so many times here, but Kamala Harris is going to be president before this election begins.
Sure. Yeah.
Because she'll get a little bit of a bounce being the president. So something will happen to Joe Biden between now and before the election, and she'll become the incumbent president. Mark my words. And not everybody's happy with Kamala, as you know. There's a lot of people that aren't happy that Kamala's running because, like Chrissy, you've said it, she polls terribly. She polls terribly with black men and with black women, worse than Biden did. So I think what's going to happen is she'll become president to give her a little bit more of a bounce, but I don't think it's going to work. So I think at the convention, you're going to see an open convention.
So what's funny about what you just said is not that I don't know why we're so in step with AOC today, but AOC did this little mock-up on, it was either her Instagram account or something, and I love that we have like millennials in the Senate or whatever the hell she's in, and she was like, just so you know, everyone's pretending that they're happy about this, but behind closed doors conversations are that they want to get rid of the entire ticket. Biden and Kamala. They do not want her to be it. Now, that's the words of AOC.
I'm sure that's the truth. I mean, hello.
But wouldn't that ring true? She represents the last 3.5 years. She has never separated herself from any of his policies.
No.
She represents all the policies that he's put in place.
I mean, but she's a radical. Kamala's a radical.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She's from freaking California. And we know
She
what
was,
happens.
back in like 2019, she by this GovTrack site, she was voted #1 of like the most radical liberal senator. And now after she's been as the nominee, elected as the nominee for the next presidential campaign or president election, that ranking, that whole site page has been deleted.
Of course it has.
By GovTrack.
Well, all the things we don't know.
And we'll close it out to just really drive the point home that the media is trash. I'm just going to show the clip of years ago, the media basically being all against Kamala and everything she stands for, and that at one point she was called the border czar, and now flashing forward to today and how they're saying she was never appointed that's not true, basically just going against everything they said years ago. And that's how we'll close it out because it's disgusting.
All right, guys, have a great day.
Have a great day.
Go vote this year.
Yeah, please vote.
Quote unquote border czar. Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
Meantime, Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris facing some backlash.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed border czar.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
People are going to have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the border czar. She wasn't the border czar.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
Now, she wasn't the border czar. That's what Republicans labeled her.
They were very critical of Kamala Harris, especially in her role as border czar.
Now what she's up against is folks lying about her border record, calling her a border czar.
Kamala Harris, who was appointed as the border czar.
The Biden team didn't declare her the border czar. They wanted her to work on kind of the root causes of immigration.
There has been so much criticism against Kamala Harris. You know, she was the border czar.
Calling her sort of the border czar, which wasn't necessarily the case.
So the border, if they weren't planning to address it in a major way, do not make her your border czar. She met with some of the Northern Triangle countries, but nothing has effectively changed.